Welcome to another episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I am your host, Kelli Melissa Reinhardt, and as with everyone, because I pretty much start these out all the time the same exact way, I am excited that we are in studio and my guest for today. The whole point of this show really is to bring you people resources if you've been watching or listening for a really long time. Hopefully, you've started understanding that, but oftentimes in life, we're not exactly sure who to talk to, where to go, what things are out there that maybe aren't the normal things or people that we go to. So really, the whole reason why I created this show is to bring you the people resources, which you can already see my guest. She's another great resource. So let me introduce her before I rant and rave and go on a soapbox. So Olivia Rose is an award-winning educator, certified uh, that why is that word not working?
It does it to me sometimes
Right?
too.
Integral coach. Let's try this again. Olivia Rose is an award-winning educator, certified integral coach, and founder of Olivia Rose Coaching, where she helps women live and lead more fully in every area of her life. With over 20 years of leadership experience in education and nonprofit sectors, Olivia brings deep um, insight into how purpose, authenticity, and mental health intersect. Living fully with ADHD herself, she empowers women to embrace their unique wiring as a source of strength rather than limitation. Through her Rebel Rise framework, she guides clients to reclaim their voice, trust their intuition, and lead with clarity and confidence. Olivia's work blends compassion, strategy, and bold authenticity to help women rise into their next level of leadership and life fulfillment. So, Olivia, thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Kelli.
Yeah. I was like, blah, blah, that's a lot of words.
It
But
a lot of
it's
words.
good though, because I love being able to do the introductions because then it kind of leads into where we're going. But what I would love for you to share with audience is just more about your story and what kind of led you into this work.
Sure. First, thanks for your authenticity.
Yeah.
It's a big part of the work I do. So, what led me here wasn't a straight line, like most of our lives, but I will start with the moment of impact. So, the moment of impact was when my partner was leaving for work one morning, and I probably had meetings from home. Um, it was not during the height of the pandemic, but shortly, I think 2021. Um, and he sat on the edge of the bed and he said, "We have not overcome what we've overcome for you to die in this bed."
Mm-hmm.
And that hit me in the feels. Um, we've been together nearly 12 years now. So that was, I don't know, 9-ish years or so. And we went through my own cancer journey. I can say I'm cured, which is a rare thing to say. Yes, I had a form of cancer that is curable. So we thought that would be one of the biggest hurdles of our lives. And we had overcome some other hurdles together. And when he said that, I realized that I really needed to do something different, and something really wasn't working. And I wasn't faking it until I could make it anymore. I wasn't really making it. And kind of a long story short, one step in front of the other, and made an appointment with my family doctor. And she did the basic mental health assessment that physicians do. And was like, yeah, these numbers indicate depression and generalized anxiety. And what she said to me was the second most important thing I heard, which was, I don't know if these medications are forever or for right now. And I know they're not the only answer. They will take the edge off enough for you to get started. But once you take them, the work is yours to do. So we started, anybody who's been there knows there's trial and error with meds, different things. I was The first few, apparently it was dizziness, but I was calling it glitchiness. I would get this like zzz feeling in my brain, like, is there an electric shock? Like, what is happening? It would, and she's like, it's a form of dizziness. I would never have described it that way. So we, tried a few meds and found one that was good for me, and got myself a therapist and started working with her. And in that process, uncovered a remembering that I had wanted to be a coach. And I had had this calling into coaching. At the time, I was leading a government human services program. I had been running that program for about 14 years in various levels of leadership until I was the division manager. And it wasn't working well for me anymore. And so, yeah, from there, I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sign up for the coaching program that I wanted to do, a very intensive year-long program, but signed up for that. And the funnest part of the story is I met up for coffee with the first coach I had ever had, the first leadership coach I had had. And when I saw her, she said, "Welcome to adulthood." And I was like, "Excuse me?" I've been an adult for a minute. And she said, in one of our first coaching sessions, you said, "I want to be a coach when I grow up." She's like, "So here you are. Welcome to adulthood." And yeah, been doing it ever since.
Wow. Well, the unfortunate part is you get to a point where you have to make a change. But I guess the fortunate part is that you have to make that change to be able to live and not just survive, but actually thrive. And those are great words from doctor to be able to say that is like, this may not be forever and it may not actually work for you. And I guess I'm like, wow, that's awesome because doctors don't often say that to their patients. So
Yeah,
I think that's awesome that they led you into the space of like, hey, this may or may not work for you, but let's try it.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I met my family doctor when I was pregnant with my now 15-year-old. And I was like, there's no going back. I will never have another doctor. Like when she retires, I guess I'm done with life because she's Dr. Jill. If you watch this, shout out. She's phenomenal and has been with my family through many things. And yeah, her being able to say, I'm with you. I'm with you through this, however this is for you. I mean, she was the same doctor that said, I don't know what your cancer is. We're going to find out together. And so we had been through some stuff. And yeah, hearing from her, the medication is just one part, that there's more. And this will take the edge off enough to do the work that you can do to heal. And she had seen me at my best. And so she really could see the difference in me when I wasn't my best. And I can say, and this is not the answer for everyone, and everyone should follow their journey wherever it leads them and honor what point in time they're at. But with the work with my therapist, the work I did in my coaching program, where we start with coaching ourselves and being coached first and foremost, and starting with the healing of ourselves to know what it is to hold space for others to do their healing, I have been able to take myself off meds and stay off meds and do the work. So I do the work too. I do the journaling, I do the meditation, I do the talking with my inner critic or my saboteurs or whatever you want to call them, the shadow sides that aren't always fun. But I do it because I know in part, I know how important it is for me to stay healthy, for my clients, for my family, for my partner, to play the role in this universe that I'm here to play, whatever that might be. I don't always think I know what it is. Oftentimes I don't know what it is, but I believe we all have a role in this universe. And it's our job to be as healthy as possible to live into our calling. Now, sometimes unhealthy is part of that journey, right? It's part of our hero's journey, but to use that and make something with it, I think is the real important part for me.
Yeah, I love that. And I know, I mean, most people that get into the work that you do, and the coaches, right? I know, at least for me, very similar is that with neurolinguistic programming, because that's what coaching certification I have, I went to an event and we did a couple processes, and I was like, what is this thing that we're doing, right? Like, and then I wanted to learn more. So I went to another little workshop, figured out more, and I was like, well, shoot, if it can do this to me, then I want to be able to help others. And so then, of course, I took it to the extremes and got every certification you could probably imagine. But I went practitioner to master practitioner to trainings and consulting, and then did the coaching actual program, and then got my ICF certification. But every single step that I went up in the certifications, I learned more and more. But I think the biggest benefit, which I heard you just say, is that I learned about me specifically, and I can take that information even now with whatever I'm doing in life, the people, myself, and I can like think about the all the all of those that I went through and help myself. Which I think is amazing, and then translate it into helping others, which I think is great.
Yeah, absolutely. The healing has to start with self, right? And I think accidentally the biggest damage I see, and women out there, I work not exclusively, but largely with women, and I see you and I love you and I'm one of you and I get it, that we are often nurturers at our core. And if we're not, we're nurturers at the like next to the core, because like just like a half step removed. And it's easier to lean into taking care of others to soothe ourselves, but doing that over time leads to a depletion of self, and it's not sustainable. It's where burnout lies so often. I see it, especially, I'm a big fan of Enneagram. I can't remember if you and I have talked about that before, but I'm a big fan of Enneagram, and especially the women who are 9s and 2s tend to get really caught up in serving others first to the detriment of self. I'll feel better when everyone else feels better. The problem is that you don't actually feel better. You feel like you have to keep chasing that high. I made somebody feel better. I feel better for a moment, but that person's going to have pain again, or my pain's going to return. And it's really the having to deal with the pain of self first and move through that. And especially the Enneagram type 2s, but also the 9s, can get really caught up in that fixer helper mode and lose more and more touch with themselves, and then be like, who's going to take care of me? And the problem is that if you're not taking care of you, if you don't see yourself as valuable enough to take care of you, no one else is going to come take care of you either, because you haven't demonstrated that you value yourself enough. I am not a 9 or a 2. So all of us can struggle with that problem. And it was really a big crux of my burnout, because I was running a human services program. I was actually running an early education program embedded in government. So we were doing preschool from tablets, from computers, from virtual preschool. And anybody there that's ever been around a preschooler, it's not effective.
Well, my son actually kindergarten, because he was in kindergarten during the pandemic. And so I actually just saw a picture the other day of him sitting at his little desk, and all of them were just all over the place. But we only did half days.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, then what do parents working full-time jobs do the rest of the
day? And this was, we were just trying to do learning activities and empower parents with learning activities. But so supporting teachers and administrators and all the structural people around the early childhood program during the pandemic who don't work from home. I had both worked from an office and home, because I had been in administration so long, but that was so different. And that happened. And then we were getting ready to come back into classrooms. And then it's like, how many kids is appropriate? What new filtration systems do we need? How do you even keep children hydrated when they're wearing masks? Like, how do you nap mats and sleeping? You can't sleep with a mask. Like, and then kids have to take masks off, and then how far apart? And, and at that time, it was just all a lot of crazy making, and you're definitely, making it all trying to work as best as possible as you go. And what I didn't realize is how much I was internalizing the pain of parents and children and staff, and trying to make it the best possible situation for 3 separate groups that couldn't have a good situation no matter what we were doing. And I had not been processing how much pain I felt for others being in pain, families being in pain. We mostly worked with low income children and families. And so those families, they don't get to work from home. Like they are doing labor jobs, in-person jobs. And so without childcare, they're not working to make a living. And then you bring children in and then they're masking and, you know, all of that craziness. And then teachers being afraid for their lives and what does it mean for them? And so I was just constantly sitting in the pain of others, but not knowing, just pushing it aside, not realizing. And there was no win emotionally for anyone. And I was just drowning in it, drowning in the no win that families need us to see kids in person, but teachers are worried about their health. And then I'm feeling like, am I putting them in harm's way? You don't go into human services because you want to hurt anybody.
Right.
You don't go into education. You go into that because you want people to grow and to heal and to be better versions of themselves. And I had just not been dealing with all of the messages, the subtle messages, the shadow side messages, the inner critic messages, and they were just swirling in my brain so much I couldn't hear them. It was like, you know, the background noise. It's like if you live in, you know, the city or the suburbs and then you go out to nature, you're like, oh, why is it so quiet here? I didn't know how noisy it was. Right. It's like my inner landscape was so noisy with self-criticism and self-doubt and hearing messages. I remember one person saying, because she was scared, you want us to come back to work and we'll die. And I'm like, no. And she was scared. She was legitimately scared. She wasn't saying, you want me to die. She's saying, and we'll die. And I heard, people think I want them to come back to work so they'll die. Obviously not, but just all of those messages swirling around. And so when we are just so used to that inner noise being so toxic, we don't even know we can have a break from it or deserve a break from it or can heal from it. And it's exactly why I do what I do and why I live what I live and why I keep, you know, educating and talking and growing so that I can continue. I'm by no means perfect, but I feel very much healed from where I was. And if I can do this journey, I know others can do this journey too. Actually, on Saturday, I saw a client who hadn't shown up for many appointments. And it was, oh, I forgot. Oh, my alarm didn't go off. Oh, my dad's sick, but she was like, I need to cancel. And then she wasn't making appointments for a while. And I knew she wasn't okay because she hadn't really been okay when I had been seeing her. And it was my last appointment on Saturday. And I was like, I don't think she's going to show up. I don't think she's going to show up again. And I was feeling conflicted. I was like, woo, I get to start my Saturday afternoon a little early. But then it was like, I'm a little bit worried. And she did. She showed up like 12 or 13 minutes late on camera.
Oh, wow.
But she wasn't on camera. She was, you know, it was virtual, but she wasn't on camera. And she started to tell me a story. And then she just stopped and she said, I'm just not okay. I said, I know. And that's why I show up here every time and wait for you, whether you make it here or not. Because oftentimes she wouldn't tell me. She just wouldn't be there and later would justify. And I was able to hear her and hold space for her and then say, here's some practical things we're going to do. And it's my obligation as an ICF certified coach to refer you to a therapist. And those out there that haven't heard it here, but I'm sure you have before, is coaching and therapy are a beautiful marriage together. Yes. They are incredible. The growth you can do with both of them is incredible. And I have many clients doing both. She needed to focus on her mental health first and then come back later. And we had that conversation. We talked about the logistics. And then I stopped and I said, would you like to hear my story? And I shared my story with her and I just heard her break down in the sobbing, but not of empathy for me. Not that she wasn't empathetic for me, but because she realized someone really understood her in that moment. And I'm getting a little teary now. Like, it was just so moving of someone like, oh, someone knows how much pain I'm in today, in this moment today. Not, it'll get better and just get some meds and look at the bright side and just put one foot in front of the other. It was like, no, I know what it's like when you don't even know if you can get out of bed at noon or 2 p.m. or 6 p.m., where all you want to do is bury yourself. And if I'm not asleep, am I ever okay? Um, and it was just such a moment for her. And I was able to say to her, I know you can do it because I did it. But I don't want to tell you it'll get better, because that's not what you need to hear right now. Right now, you need to hear the fact that you showed up here and said how much pain you're in is you saving yourself. And let's just be with that. I'm not going to say, okay, when are you calling your doctor, and jump into action? Just take a moment and recognize that you already took a step today. And maybe this is the only step you can take today, but it's a step you took. Yeah. And so I heard from her after, and she sent a message, and I'm really honored. She sent me this message. She's actually a chaplain in the military.
Oh, wow.
And she said, I know God put us together months ago so you could see me today, so I can do what I need to do to save my own life.
Wow.
Yeah, because she's a chaplain in the military.
Yeah.
She saves lives, right? And she needs to be healthy to do that. So anyway, it's a little far off of the question you started with, but it was an incredibly impactful weekend.
Yeah, no, and thank you for sharing. And I think that it shows really like the value of the work that you do, but really creating that safe space for people to just exist, right? I think that's huge. And I love that you mentioned that coaching and therapy go really well together, because they do. And I have another question that's kind of formulating, but we have to go to our first sponsored break.
Yes.
And once we come back, I always lead into these with a question that I'll bring back to you. So we'll be right back after this quick sponsored break.
Have you ever felt completely alone?
Like your life doesn't matter.
One person dies due to suicide every 40 seconds.
You are not alone. Call the National Suicide Lifeline at 988.
Hope and recovery is possible.
1 in 8 people globally live with a mental disorder.
That's why empowering minds saves lives.
We need your help.
With only $19 a month, you help us save lives through mental health and suicide prevention education.
Scan the QR code or go to makementalhealthmatter.org to sign up as a warrior for mental health today.
Hi everyone, I am Sinead from Brador. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. Please join me in my Power Hour every Sunday, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on E360 TV. Mwah!
And like that, we're back. If you happen to be just tuning into the Make Mental Health Matter show, make sure you go back and listen to the beginning of this. But my guest, Olivia, and I are really talking about how coaching and mental health and holding safe space and really honoring the journey of what she has been, what you have been through, that you're right here physically, what you have been through, but then also some of your clients, and how transformation can happen, but also really, I think no matter what kind of coach you are, is we're creating these safe spaces for people to come and be authentically themselves. Also, if they're not feeling very good that day and they just show up to the appointment, like you were talking about, is like honoring that they showed up for themselves and knowing that that's really the beginning. So I think it also, there was a couple of things that you had talked about, is how if you're going to see like a transformation coach or a life coach, or say even a business coach, right? Mm-hmm. There's still so much that we have to do for ourselves to be able to shift into whatever it is our desired state that we want to step into. Because if we don't work on ourselves first, then we're never going to get to that place. Right. So I love that you had mentioned all of those things. And I wanted to just step back just a smidget. But the Enneagram, just for anybody that like is not familiar, can you just explain? I know what it is, but for those that don't, can you explain just briefly what that is?
Sure. So there are many different kinds of assessments that are personality style, working style, lifestyle. So this is one of those. It's actually rooted in the wisdom of past cultures and then modernized. And it's the idea that there's types 1 through 9. 9 is at the very top of the circle. There's a whole diagram, and then like a clock moves around to the right, 1 all the way back to 9. We all have all 9 types within us. We are born whole and complete. And based on the time that we are developing in the womb and in early childhood, the forces around us, we find a primary type that we lean into that becomes the dominant type for how we tend to live our lives. And then there are lots of nuances within there. So there are wings. So if you're a 1, you're a wing 2 or a wing 9. And if you're a 2, you're a wing 1 or a wing 3. I realize saying it with 1 gets confusing because it goes backwards to 9. So you have a wing. I describe it like this. We both have 2 arms, 2 hands, but we tend to have a dominant. There are very few truly ambidextrous people. Many of them are lefties that have been forced to convert in some way. But there are very few truly ambidextrous people. We all have dominant sides. So like wings, we have a dominant wing. So we'll have both wings, but one will be more dominant. And then there are instinctual variants that fall into 3 categories, sort of how you protect yourself in the world, whether it's self-preservation, sometimes called safety, whether it's social by like social mapping, or sometimes called sexual or individual, about creating strong one-on-one relationships to keep you safe. So there's some, even though there's 9 types, there's deep variations.
Yeah. It's kind of, if you think about like the disc or any of those, right? There's all the different types, but I know this one it can go much more deep. I haven't done the whole thing yet, but I love just being aware of all the different things that are out there. And that's a great way to explain it, we have dominant one way or another. And there are some, I'm like, what was the other thing that was popping into my head? It'll come back if it needs to.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I'll fill in a little more Enneagram here. I love it so much. And I actually recorded a podcast a couple weeks ago where we weren't planning on talking about Enneagram at all. And they've asked me to come back in the new year to do one just on the Enneagram. We're going to uncover their types and like get deeper into it. One of the things I love about it that I think is different than other diagnostic tools is we all love hearing about ourselves and being like, oh, that's so me. And that's maybe not me, but that's really me. Did I write this about myself? What I really appreciate about the Enneagram is it's not, well, I am this way. This is the way I stay. This is what it looks like as you continue to move along a path of continued health. And it's not, you should just get to the healthiest level and stay there. You're going to move up and down levels of healthiness in life. You become ill, like a physical illness changes your mental health, right? And then Sanjay Gupta's book, based on a lot of science coming over the last few years, but he has a new book out about chronic pain and mental health, and the stress, mental health, and the increase of chronic pain, and how chronic pain increases mental health challenges, and that interplay there, right? So what I think is really empowering about the Enneagram is you're going to move along stages of on a spectrum of healthy to less healthy, and that's okay where you're at. And here's one small way you can improve how you're functioning healthily in your Enneagram type. And how that often works is there's a complementary number that is your growth edge. And if you can access that, then you can find yourself moving in a direction of increased health. What typically happens is whatever our type is, when we start to have stress, and then who doesn't have chronic stress? We all have chronic stress. It's just how life is.
US.
It is how westernized life is.
Yeah.
We have a stress number, and we tend to move towards a certain number when we are stressed and when we are experiencing stress. But if we can take a decision point and say, as opposed to being stressed and acting in this way that will increase my stress, I want to access my growth number, then we can realize what are the things that we're interpreting as stress that we could actually see as our learning or our growth edge. And that's one of the things that I particularly like.
I love that. And I know, I mean, through like neurolinguistic programming, I have learned that you have choice, right? That you have the choice if you're going to go towards stress or you're going to go through towards growth, like you were talking about. And there are certain like phrases, at least that I say to myself, is like, is it about me or is it about them? And if it's about them, I just let it go because it's not mine to hold on to. Because I very much am empath, that I tend to absorb more of the emotions and energy of people. But over time, I have learned that I can actually release them, which I never thought was possible up until kind of like you were saying, until you really started diving into yourself. Then I was like, oh, like I don't have to absorb all their negative energy. Like I can choose which energy I want. So that's been really empowering for me. If it's about me, then I do a little bit more deep work of like, okay, why is it triggering me? Like, why is that bringing up those emotions in me? And then I can shift those if I choose to. Maybe it's something that's helpful to protect me, or maybe it's not. And I can start to shift those. And the other thing that I remember what I was going to say, one thing that you had mentioned is people, so I would reflect on me is that my coping mechanism is to just keep going, right? I go, 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 go. I've never had those moments that I'm like laying in bed and I can't get out of bed. It's mainly that I can't stay in bed. Like my coping mechanism is I have to get out of bed. I have to keep going. I don't have an option in my brain, right? Like I'm like, I don't have an option to just pause. I have found the value through breath work that I have done more recently of like, oh, like this is how I pause my brain. And you talked about how city living versus going into the woods. And that's how it is even in breath work. It's like, oh, like I can, it gives me chills when I think about it too. But it's like, ooh, this is what I can do to pause. Whereas I never knew that was something that I could do. So I think that, so those of you that are out there listening, there are lots of different ways to be in, I guess, burnout or overwhelm or depression or having that anxiety feelings. It shows up very different in different people. But the cool part that I want to go back to too is that we know, and a lot of coaches, right? Like we probably had experiences that led us into what we do now. And the best part is that we can hold that space and truly see people wherever they are. So I love that you said that.
And I appreciate you speaking about the burnout in an activation mode. Depression can actually show up as an activation mode. So I was highly activated until I went so over the edge that I was tanked. And the way I would show up as work is still appeared highly activated, highly energized. I'm very energetic. And I get this from a lot of people. They're like, you're just so happy. You're just so bubbly. You're so energy. Like I can feel your energy before you walk into the room. Like I am one of those people that I am like that. And when I was in beyond burnout, whatever we want to call that, burnt, I guess, that it was off or extremely high energy and there was nothing in between. And I think that's a thing to watch for. If you have to stay activated or you have to be fully shut down, that's a danger zone. We're missing the middle of life where the richness actually happens. And sometimes you got to turn it on and sprint. And sometimes you've got to rest. But if you can't do what's in between, that's often a warning sign that you're in a less healthy place. My partner used to say, you have two speeds. 100 miles an hour and off.
Oh yeah.
We thought it was funny.
Yeah.
At the time I didn't know that was really unhealthy. I didn't know how to be in the middle. And you talked about breath work. I haven't studied doing a lot of breath work, leading breath work myself. I participate in a lot of breath work with other people. For me, though, it's been a lot of embodiment practices. I would get out of my body by going so fast, and I would leave my body, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and a lot of people have a lot of reasons: chronic pain or negative messages about your body. Lots of reasons why we will disassociate from your body. So I was really disconnected from my body, and it actually, I'm a little embarrassed to say, but it wasn't until I sat for my certification in my coaching program after a full year, and my lead faculty member said to me, I really, really, really debated about whether to certify you or to go provisional, which meant that you would then need more training and support. You can still practice as a coach, but you need more training and support. And he said, it's not because of the knowledge. You understand cognitively, as well as anybody who will pass today, how to be a great integral coach. He's like, you've got it down in your head. Your body doesn't always show up here. And that, I mean, to be told, I have a master's, like I'm a high achiever. Like I get stuff done. I get all the certifications and I get the good grades and I pass everything. If I'm going to do it, I'm all in. And to be told, like, you almost didn't make it through this process. And he's like, I am certifying you as long as you make the commitment that you're going to study somatics or embodiment and bring that into your coaching. And I committed that day to do an entire year's study in somatics. And what I really learned is it's just paying attention to your body. Right? Like anything's a somatic practice. It's just like, oh, I have a body. And having done that now for well over a year, I can now, I don't have to force myself to ask, what is my body saying? Like I can feel it when that like pit of the stomach thing happens, or my heart is closing, or my heart is opening, or what's this nagging back here behind my kidneys where I couldn't even see it if I wanted to. What am I stuffing back there? So my body is talking to me more proactively now. And it's why what I often describe what I do as leadership mindset and embodiment coaching, because this skin suit, as one of my mentors calls it, has a lot of information in it. It's pretty wise. If you listen to it, your brain can do a little less work.
It does. And so a couple of thoughts have popped in my head, but we have to go to our last sponsor break. And then once we get back, we will go into we'll be back.
1,917 people die daily from suicide globally.
I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
How does Kelli, host of the Make Mental Health Matter show, impact lives?
Number 1, awareness.
My story, however, it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction. And because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here. And if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
2, conversation.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community, it is very hush-hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelli, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Number 3, education.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, and her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
And like that, we're back again. If you happen to be just watching or listening to the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you for tuning in, but you missed the whole beginning. So make sure you go back and watch or listen. My guest Olivia and I are really talking about like what it means to, really like work with a coach, but then also like in life and being authentic and all the things that happen. We talked about enneagrams. I'm like, that's a hard word today. But there's so many different things out in the world and in life, and that coaches really, one thing that I love is how much or how many different modalities that people are really adding into their coaching. Therapists are also doing that, which I think is really, really cool. It's not just talk therapy, but like you were talking about the somatic aspect, which is understanding our body, and then breath work. I have a woman who's getting her certification, so she has to give like free sessions to people. So I was like, ooh, me. And I hadn't ever realized like how powerful it can be. And then how fast you can really like get in there and start healing, as you were talking about earlier too, is like that healing aspect and how you can shift from, so a couple things like that depression, that burnout, and it can be that you're more activated, or then you have those people that can't get out of bed, right? So we have these two differences. And it made me think about, because I always call it the virtual wall that I hit. So after my sister passed, I was just going. And then I hit what was the virtual wall. And I was like, okay, well, I need to take care of myself. So that started a whole journey. And then you also talked about, which I love how this always works out when I have guests, but I very much, so dancing my whole entire life, felt like I was very connected in my body for the most part. But I went and did this transformation academy that they had us walk on glass, and everything else they threw at us. We walked on fire. We went skydiving. We like held reptiles and snakes and all the things, right? And I was like, yeah, let's do this, because I love all that stuff. The moment I saw glass, my brain just shut down. It was like, nope. And I realized that I was so disconnected from my body at that moment, because it had been, I don't even know, couple years at that point, and I wasn't feeling like connected into my feet, because if you didn't walk properly, you would actually get cut. And I was like, my feet are gonna get all cut up. But it was that moment that I was like, what is happening? Like, why am I freaking out? Why am I panicking? And then realizing that it was because I was so disconnected from my body and my feet, which was fascinating. But I also, you talked about the brain and how a stressed brain, and then there's also that trauma brain, right? Like it actually not organizes, but it tends to have different aspects when you're so stressed or you're in trauma, and they can scientifically show that, which I think is fascinating too.
Yeah, and the brain is an organ that acts like a muscle, and that's what makes the brain so fascinating. It's like it is like kidneys or liver or whatever, in that it does what it does behind the scene, except we have then the mind that makes sense of the brains. Then we get into this whole like metacognition thing. We won't geek out on that right now. You can finish your educational psychology program, but you never really leave it.
Right.
But what we know scientifically is that this idea that the brain is an organ that acts like a muscle means that it needs rest. Right. And so if you like, you want to get like your you want to get the tank top arms for summer, right? Like you're doing all your biceps and your triceps, but you take breaks between reps. And you take breaks between days. You have arm day and leg day. And allegedly, you can do abs every day. Sometimes I argue with that one a little bit. Just because you can doesn't mean I will. Right. But the brain actually needs rest and recovery. And rest and recovery are two different things. And so it needs sleep, but it also needs breaks between tasks. And that going, I don't turn off, actually is more fatiguing on the brain because it needs rest, and it works more properly. I don't know if that's how you would say that. Sure. It works better-ish. Yeah. When we give it breaks between tasks or breaks between thinking, but we, in this modern culture of more is like, I got to be thinking, I got to be productive, I've got to be processing, I've got to be saying, I've got to be thinking, I've got to be interpreting, I've got to be understanding, I've got to be saying, I've got to, and around and around we go. Yeah, I know, I'm exhausting you just saying that. And that mindfulness meditation has been the hardest thing for me to do. Hopefully nobody from my coach training program hears me say this. We were supposed to be able to meditate for 30 minutes every day in order to pass. I don't think I've ever meditated 30 minutes any day. But by committing to doing it daily, and the more my brain buzzes, the more it whirs, the more I know I have to stop and give it a break, even for 2 minutes. Like the research shows 2 minutes every day of quiet, silent meditation is better for the brain than 30 minutes once a month. Like it's about the frequency. So here's the myth about meditation that I like talking about since I led myself into that. Like there's this whole myth about meditation. I'm sure you come across this. Like, yeah, that like if you do it right, there's total enlightenment and serenity and like, okay, I guess maybe if you're the Dalai Lama, sure.
Where they can sit all day long in one place.
And you've been trained since you were a kid and great. Allegedly that can happen. I don't believe it, but sure. I mean, I believe it. I just haven't experienced it. But actually the benefit for the brain is not the shut off. It's the practice of telling the brain that just because it thinks something doesn't mean it gets to keep thinking something. It's thought in, go away. Thought in, go away. So I like to say, do whatever you want to do with it. Swipe left, swipe right, swipe up, swipe back, swipe down, diagonal, swipe in circles. I don't care. Practice swiping the thoughts. And maybe you realize I've been thinking this thing for 30 seconds or 3 minutes. Doesn't matter. It's not, oh no, I've done it wrong. Now I have to start over. It's the point is to teach your brain how to catch it and move it along, because the trauma brain thinks something, believes it's true, and spins on it. And then it adds another spinning plate and another spinning plate. And then you have 250 spinning things in your head in your trauma brain. The biggest thing I have found, breath, hope I didn't make bad sounds. I apologize if I did. But breath work is one way that by focusing on something intentionally, you're forcing the brain not to whir in its thoughts. The same way that silent, still meditation and guided meditation is great. I'm not saying don't do it, but the benefits of quiet meditation, where you have to teach yourself how to swipe the thoughts away, is doing basically, it's teaching the brain how to rest between the reps when you're trying to get buff brain. Yeah. Your brain will work better if you give it a break, even for a minute.
I feel like you're just talking to me like all of this is. I'm like, there's nobody out there. No.
Wait, no, we want you all out there.
Yeah. But I think more so, and I know you and I have had other conversations, but like as the founder and CEO of a nonprofit and running a business just in general, right? Yeah. Like as the entrepreneur, as the tend to be all the things for all the people and all of it, right? There's not a lot of time that I even give myself space to just pause. There are moments that I literally am just sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna close my eyes because I have to, one, figure out what I was trying to think of doing. But I love that swipe technique is like, okay, it comes at me, which I understand we have billions of things that come at us at one point in time, right? And we have to be able to differentiate what we're doing with the information, because our brain cannot possibly store all of that. And total geek out again about the brain, but I love the swiping method. Is like, it can come to me, but I can let it go, or I can like put it somewhere else, right? Like, how is that training my brain? And I do that often. I mean, with thoughts, if they like come in and then they go out, I'm like, it'll come back maybe. And if it does, cool. If it doesn't, that's okay. But I love that swipe technique. So definitely gonna keep that in mind too.
Yeah. Here's another pro tip for meditation that I came about with one of my clients, where she'd say, every time I meditate, I just get the running to-do list in my head of all the things that I'm going to forget to do. Because we have this forgetful shaming thing. Like, it turns out that you're human if you forget things. You're not a bot. But we have this huge culture of like, you forgot, therefore you're bad. So we started this practice where it's like, okay, do your pre-meditation for 3 to 5 minutes. And it's meditation, but it's pre-meditation. So you can start your timer and sit, and then when the to-do thing comes up, you have your to-do list right there, and you open your eyes and write it down, and then you go back to meditation. And then you open your eyes and you write it down. And whenever when the pre-meditation stops, then you can put the list away, you set the timer for the same amount of time, and then you're going to practice swiping out of your head everything else that shows up. And that made a huge difference for her, because she wasn't slowing down enough in her day to create the actual list of things she needed to do. And half the time, half of that list is actually low yield tasks. They're like busy work that you don't really need to do. So she was trying to store it up here. It gave her time to put it out and get it out of her head, and then have a more clear head to actually practice pushing those thoughts out. And it was much more effective. It doesn't mean she didn't ever think of something that needed to go on her to-do list, but it slowed the racing down, because she taught her brain, this is the time where I need you to give me all the to-do list stuff. Save a few things, right?
Yeah.
And then it's practice. It's always practice, right?
Yeah.
Nobody hits a home run the first time they get up to the plate. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. That, you have to see thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of pitches to hit effective home runs. The same thing with the brain. It has to practice. And once you can create a routine, if you do this pre-routine and you do meditation, the more you do it, all of a sudden you're a few weeks in, and it just starts to run like clockwork.
I love that.
Great way to get your to-do list written down. And then there's another practice I like to add on of like, okay, now you have to remove half the things from the list. What are you removing?
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes you're delegating. Sometimes it's a low yield task. I don't really need to do that. Sometimes it's that can really wait till tomorrow, whatever it is. But also all the things that you tell yourself you need to do, you don't actually need to do.
Right. Well, and I've gotten into, like, at the end of the day is like writing. So if it pops into my head, I'll put it in my notes so that I'm not like over and over and over trying to, like, in the morning, I'm like, what was that thing that I thought of last night? So I've trained my brain to, at night, if something pops in, I just write it in my notes in my phone.
Perfect.
And then let it go, because that's time to sleep. But unfortunately, we're coming to the end of, I know, it goes so fast. So I would love for you to share any final thoughts that you have, and then how can people find you if they want to work with you or follow you?
Yeah. I guess the final thought I want to say, which I don't think we've hit directly here, a bit indirectly in the beginning, is you are here because you need to be here. And just by breathing, you are worthy. We all have inherent dignity. There is a line of dignity that runs through us. And you are here that just by taking a breath, you are worthy. And the more you can breathe, the more you can give yourself grace, the more you can slow yourself down, the more that the universe or God or whatever it is that is your higher power can help you fill your purpose here, even if you're not feeling great about it today. So that's what I would say there. Yeah. And yes, I can be found.
Yeah.
I'm a real human in the world. So I've made it really easy. Olivia Rose Coach is my handle on the socials, and my website is oliviarosecoach.com, and my email is olivia@oliviarosecoach.com. And I love talking to people, whether it's one time and they just need someone to talk to once. No, there's no charge to talk to me once. I also like referring people to what they're looking for. So if you don't know where to start, you don't know what might be helpful to you, you don't know where to find a breathwork practitioner, or you don't know what is this embodiment thing or somatic coaching, I want an Enneagram coach. I know a great Enneagram coach. That's all she does. So I love connecting people with resources. I'm happy to hear from you. I'm happy to support you growing into the person you're becoming all the time, because the world needs you.
Amazing. So that's oliviarosecoaching.com.
Olivia Rose Coach.
Coach. Sorry, not coaching. My bad. oliviarosecoach.com.
There we go.
Yes. And it will be in all of the show notes too. And for those of you that are listening, you can also go check it out on in the archives of Dream Vision 7 Radio, or you can look on YouTube if you want the actual links. So thank you so much for being an amazing guest. I really hope that this helps just show how coaches can be effective in your life no matter what you are going through. Also, it is okay to feel whatever way you're feeling, and being able to really process the information that your body's giving you or your brain is giving you, and how you can swipe that out of your brain. Yeah, let it go. Anyways, make sure you come back next week. I go live every single Monday at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. on Dream Vision 7 Radio, or you can listen on, or you can watch on E360 TV. See you next time.